supposed to upload previous, prior or send them out prior.
It's 5:30 and we'll call the meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Holbert?
Here.
Rudder? Yoshida? Hilliard?
Here.
Webb? Baran?
Here.
Fraser?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay. And I'll just remind folks to make sure that we speak into the microphone so we can be heard and recorded. And I guess the system is back working the way it's supposed to.
We believe so.
Good. Okay. We received the agenda in the mail. I would like or invite a motion for approval of the agenda.
A quick point of clarification, Chair. The agenda might be modified to change the minutes date for October 1st to October 15th. You have already approved the October 1st minutes. We just need you to approve the October 15th minutes. So I apologize for the typo in the agenda.
And I would look for a motion for approval of the agenda as amended with the minutes of October 15th.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Our next order of business is election of a chair and a vice chair. Do we have any nominations for chair?
I'd like to nominate Ross Fraser for chair. I'd like to second that.
Thank you. Any other nominations? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, I think.
Famous first words.
And also an election for vice chair.
Chair, I'd like to nominate Seth Webb as vice chair. Second? He's aware, I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
I've communicated with him, even though he's not present this evening, he said he would be willing to do that. Any other nominations? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Seth. I told him I'd be back in touch with him after tonight, so. Okay. We have two sets of minutes to be approved. First of all, the minutes from October 15th, 2025, and they were just distributed by Michelle. If people want to take a look at those, and then I would be glad for a motion to approve them. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes from October 15th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes from October 15th are approved. And then in our packet, we had the minutes from December 3rd. We'll invite a motion for approval of those.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes from from December 3rd are approved as well. Thank you. Okay. I'd like to open the public comment period for any public comment that's not associated with our business tonight of the comprehensive plan. And seeing no one, I will close public comment. Our regular business tonight is to consider the draft comprehensive plan, both for public comment and discussion of the plan. There will be this meeting tonight, and we will do a continuation of this meeting, both for consideration of the discussion and any public comment tonight, and the fact that we will have more commissioners who expect to be here on the meeting on the 4th of March, and we will do a final vote on the comprehensive plan at that point in time. At this point, let me turn it over to Matt and Carl to do a staff presentation for us.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. We have a staff presentation, and obviously I think most of the information will not be new to the Planning Commission, but it's a good summary we attempt to do when we move towards adoption of any of our plans, just so we can kind of lay out the process that we did, the key themes that are in this plan. Take this over here.
Share your screen.
Yes. And just kind of do an overview of the whole planning process that led us to this point. We did include 3 pieces of information on the dais tonight in printing. We received comments, I believe you already received the electronic version, so we received comments from Jefferson County. We also received comments a couple of days ago from the city of Arvada. And then I also included a edit for our community marketing language that we can discuss tonight, but it just would not, it does fit on a slide, but it's kind of an egregious slide that's very hard to read. So we just wanted to at least get it out there and get some feedback. So the comprehensive plan, I think, our current comprehensive plan was largely adopted in 2011. There was a housing and sustainability focused update in 2017. But really, time is only one of the drivers for why City Council and staff looked at updating the comprehensive plan. A large part of that was the expanded city planning approach. So we've made a number of pretty large-scale changes to how we manage development and land use in the last couple of years. Obviously, the biggest one from a regulatory standpoint is our form-based zoning code. But we've also developed a more robust housing program with staffing and funding dedicated to it. The city has also taken a different approach for rather than just having a comprehensive plan that addresses many, many, many topics. We have a wide variety of new citywide plans that have been adopted in the last 5 years and that are still ongoing, and so really trying to sync up with those. We've also had a number of changes at the state level from a legislative perspective. Some of them we've already addressed as far as occupancy limits and accessory dwelling units. Others are addressed as part of this plan, or others may have additional regulatory changes that Carl and his team will bring forward. But kind of those things together really said that it was time for us to update our comprehensive plan. So the kind of the 3 key themes that at least that I see in this plan is affordable and general housing support. Obviously, this is not unanimous across our community, and I think it continues to be a point of discussion, and you'll see some of the feedback that we discuss would be kind of in opposition to this. But the plan really encapsulates our housing program's focus and funding for where it stands today. And then we'll have a housing action plan to help us meet state requirements, which we'll start tackling later this year, which will become part of the comprehensive plan. But that will be led by Lauren McKinney, our affordable housing policy coordinator, in support from community and economic development. We also, again, as we expanded that citywide approach, we're really trying to lean into that system of plans. So understanding how all of our plans work together, how planning commission, how staff, and how the community can use those. We really wanted to utilize that kind of adopted policy plan where there are really in-depth recommendations on transportation, on open space, on parks, and on our neighborhood plans. We really also wanted to honor the public and board and commission feedback that we've received as part of those plans and build them into our overall community plan. The last thing is kind of keep golden golden, and I put that in slightly tongue-in-cheek. It's obviously not encasing our community in amber and saying that we're not going to change, but I think the plan is very much rooted in Golden Vision 2030, those value themes that really come and talk to the heart of who we are as a community. And one of the reasons we didn't change those and redo a process to update GV 2030 was we felt that those were still very much representative of the community. And I think that was reinforced with the feedback that we heard through this plan. But the plan does provide guidance so how we can navigate change while remaining true to our values. So basically, you know, I guess more informally, I view it as, you know, Golden is a wonderful place. People want to be here. And I think we can welcome housing, we can welcome businesses, but we can do it on our own terms. And I think the plan really recognizes that we're setting our own future, not just taking what comes towards us. So I want to just kind of summarize the public engagement process that we went through for this plan, which honestly, there's some things that I had forgotten about. We've been doing this since October of 2024. So we did our first phase of engagement, which lasted from October of 24 to January of 25. We held 4 listening sessions and 7 pop-up events. We had about 50 attendees. We had more folks at the pop-up events. It's just harder to catalog them because they're coming and going and popping by our table. But we really wanted to ask what people love about Golden, what would they change, what are some housing barriers and opportunities, and engaging with, and then challenges with engaging with the development review process. So you can see here kind of some of the things that we really heard. Obviously, the what we love question that really became the basis for that special place graphic in chapter 2. Housing, again, this was kind of recognizing that there's not agreement here where we heard there's too much, there's too little, but everybody largely agreed it's very expensive right now. And a term that one person coined that's kind of stuck with me throughout this whole process is small town versus small city. And I think people have seen and appreciate the benefits of the visitation and the popularity of downtown and of our community as a whole, and seeing the benefits that that brings, but also the challenges that that brings for how we continue to grow, how we continue to respect the things that everybody loves about our community. We also heard a lot that we want more control of Minds development, but the Minds kids and staff are part of our community. And then I think just general better notification of development proposals. I think there's a lot of requests that we greatly expand how we do development notification. Phase 2 public engagement, then we tackled in June of 2025. So we held kind of 4 activity-based public meetings. We had very limited attendance at these, including one where we had no attendees. But the activities that we put together are basically helping, evaluating a hypothetical development proposal against the plan's draft goals at that point. And then we also wanted to just get very direct feedback on the housing goals and implementation actions, which it was becoming clear that that was a point where we wanted to get very specific community feedback, and we wanted to make sure that we were kind of going down the right path in that particular topic. So definitely I think we've been pretty clear, you know, given the low attendance, we kind of caution drawing any large scale conclusions. But some of the feedback that we got was, we've heard this, and our housing planners heard it, that there's concerns about the concentration of affordable housing in our central neighborhoods. Parking is a concern, that we should not be reducing parking, but also that we need a variety of affordable housing for a variety of incomes, and recognizing that the area median income, which sets a lot of those thresholds for affordable housing, is very high in Jeffco. I think it was somewhere in the 70 or 80,000 range for AMI. But then also folks said we need to get some more local perspective, maybe we need to do additional neighborhood planning. And then folks, especially when we talked at Golden Terrace, they're very worried about their ability to stay in their home and not be displaced should something happen to Golden Terrace in particular. So we took all of that feedback and we started to consolidate it into a draft document. And so we had 2 30-day public review periods, one in August of 2025 and another in December of 2025. It basically mirrored our planning commission and city council study sessions from that time, where we were asking the same questions, and really asking people to provide targeted feedback on the draft document and any edits that they would have. And we largely solicited that via a Guiding Golden survey. So we had about 17 responses for the August window and 4 responses for December. We heard some feedback that folks were disappointed on our focus of expanding versus limiting housing. We got a lot of parks focused feedback, particularly in August, that we forwarded on to our park staff to incorporate into their master planning process. Folks also felt that the plan was soft on historic preservation at the time, and I think we've definitely strengthened that chapter subsequently. And then there are additional parking concerns, particularly related to affordable housing. And then there's requests, again, to add discussion of the benefits of density, folks wanting more control over mines development, curtailing student housing, trying to address NREL, or I should say now the National Laboratory of the Rockies, clay works and cores, and folks even going as far as saying that cores should be funding a G-line extension into the city. We also got a request to address the informal housing market, which we weren't quite sure exactly what they were getting at, and we've talked extensively with our affordable housing planner. There's a lot of co-living, which they said is not illegal, and I think I think it was just reflecting the changes to occupancy allowances within the state. So now we're here. So we're gonna have public hearings, obviously one today, and then one on March 4th. These are state-required public hearings prior to formal plan adoption. We also solicited feedback from communities that are within 3 miles of our municipal boundaries and the county. That's also required by state statute. So we've heard back from Arvada and Jefferson County. We haven't received any response thus far from Wheat Ridge and Lakewood. We'll reach out again to see if they do have any feedback. Kind of a summary, and so what we handed out, but Jefferson County's largest comment was they were surprised that we were not directly addressing the transit-oriented communities legislation that was passed at the state level. Carl, I'm gonna take a crack at this, but you can kick me under the table. So staff are working, we're gonna add some language, just very brief language to Chapter 8, which is the strategic planning and water planning section, which is a chapter largely focused on addressing some of that state legislation and the requirements that we now have on us. We're gonna add some language, but we believe that this is largely kind of a technical piece of legislation that's looking at determining how much housing units we can have under our current zoning. We believe we're in compliance with our past form-based code and ADU regulatory changes. I think Carl's conversations with the state have kind of confirmed that we're looking good in that regard. So we didn't put a ton of effort and analysis into this because we largely think that we've done that work previously and on our own terms rather than just responding to a state requirement. Did I get all that? Perfect. Arvada didn't really indicate any concerns. I think they were more noting, their email to us said they were noting issues of mutual interest with Golden. They are kicking off their own comprehensive planning effort this month, and so we're expecting to kind of work with them and Jefferson County on future State Highway 93 projects. We have a Highway 93 project going on that our Public Works team is leading right now. So we'll keep working with them, and I think that whole, it's called the North Valley, but that whole area, we're not envisioning anything other than kind of we have boundary agreements with Arvada, and I think it's just depending on most of the land there. I think both communities are saying it should be preserved largely as open space, and I think that's what the county the county's not as clear about that future in their plans. But I think we'll, at least similar with the junction, we'll have a degree of control over what kind of development happens on our boundaries. And then working with CDOT and other communities on the highway itself. We did not receive any public feedback prior to the meeting, after the packet went out. I have talked with Roberta Walton, who's with the Golden Terrace Resident Council. Obviously, they're really heavily engaged right now in the PUD amendment for the property. But we did give her a lot of information. They've previously submitted comments to Planning Commission on the comprehensive plan. It kind of gave her our time frame, so I'm expecting that we'll get some comments hopefully by the next meeting. But that's just that's the only conversation that I've had outside of the meetings. So based on the feedback that we received at the last two Planning Commission study sessions, as we kind of put in the memo, there were a lot of smaller edits which Slate, our designer, has made. And there are a couple of edits that we said we had to go back and discuss internally. So we put verbatim those changes that we're proposing. I'm gonna put them in the presentation, but they're also in the memo as well. We just wanted to get some feedback from Planning Commission tonight on if we're going down the right path, if we need to make any additional changes, anything else, and that would be helpful for us. So, Mr. Chair, we can go slide by slide if that's easiest, or if there's general comments, since folks have had time to digest, I think, everything but the visitor-based economy language. I think everything else was included in the packet. So.
I found in other things we've done that if we go topic by topic, or in this case slide by slide, it's easier for the conversation and makes it less confusing.
Okay.
Does that seem agreeable?
Yes.
So let's do that.
Okay. So one of the kind of the first edit that we had was in the introduction to the housing chapter. This was some language that was regarding home ownership and kind of the historic causes for the different rates of home ownership. So we would look back, there's a Bell policy report that was put together for housing in Jefferson County. So we were able to take some language for that. Planning Commission's feedback was to add some more context. I think it make it more forward-looking. So these are the proposed edits that we put in, kind of recognizing that home ownership and housing is essential for economic mobility, and that there is a difference, and that there's a lot of barriers, but kind of looking forward, it's addressing those, but then also really doing targeted interventions to try to reduce those gaps that we see right now. So I think we tried to strike that balance of recognizing the challenges, recognizing the data-driven kind of differences, but then also, again, putting it in context and making it so there's kind of an action helping guide us as we move forward on this.
Okay. We did talk about this, I think, in the last study session. Any thoughts, comments, reactions to that proposed edit on the introduction?
I still think that, this is supposed to be a comprehensive plan for the city of Golden, not Jefferson County. So I'm not sure what the statistics for the county, which is considerably more diverse and broader than the city of Golden, how that should impact the way that we plan for our city.
That's true, and I think this is a big challenge that we have at times when you get larger scale data, because we only have 2 census tracts in the city, and they extend outside of our city limits. So the way we've been approaching affordable housing and the affordable housing planner is, I think we're seeing the county step up and give some more guidance and give some more data. So I think we're finding that this is kind of some of the best data that we have. we can go back and look. I think there are some tools from the State Department of Public Health and Environment that we typically use for grant applications, but it's called EnviroScore. But that breaks down some of that information at a slightly more granular level, and we can see if there's kind of some additional Golden-centric data that we could get in this that could help drive that to get, I guess, more local data as best we can. Or the other option would be that we could just take out that data point. But I think from what we hear from the public when we talk, especially in the south part of town, that they do recognize a lot of these challenges. So, yeah.
I will speak to the difficulties of tracks are much larger than the city for demographic purposes and census data. So, and when you get down to the more granular level, you drop off on some of those potentially identifying characteristics. You know, I think maybe just adding potentially some qualifiers that, you know, that is really speaking to the county as a whole, and, you know, maybe isn't, you know, and there might be different circumstances for Golden, you know, but just that's one of the frustrations, you know, for anybody who tries to work with demographic data. It just doesn't always scale down to specific boundaries.
Yeah, I just think that what's true for the county and for Jefferson County isn't necessarily the case for the city of Golden, and I caution that we distinguish between the two.
And I think to Matt's point, I think we can look to see how far down we can, you know, get to Golden specific.
Okay.
And once you've been able to do that, we may also think about or look at crafting some sort of sentence which gives you know, just a little bit more context or acknowledgement that a lot of the data is county-based, and that to the extent that we've been able can identify Golden data, or to acknowledge that it's that we really only have county data, whichever it turns out to be. But it just includes that point, I guess.
Yeah, I can do that. And I think we've had instances where we've worked with DRCOG at a regional level where we've just walked away from projects because we're like, well, this data is really irrelevant to us. So I think, so we're fine doing that if we need to, but I think I'll go back and I'll talk with Lauren McKinney, and we can strengthen this further. So.
Okay. Thank you. Other comments to that, or?
I know we talked about this a little bit last time, but that last sentence still is making some really strong statements.
I agree.
And in particular, confront the injustices and achieve true equality. I think that could be really toned down.
Or removed.
Or, yeah, I would agree with that. It's just, those are so strong, and I'm not sure if I agree that it should say that.
Yeah, I think we would take whatever direction we get.
Confront the injustice could be address the issues, or something to that effect.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if achieve true equality is, if we should say that.
So I'm hearing confront true injustices, change to address the issues, and then potentially remove the language after the word interventions.
Yeah.
Sorry, apologies. I just want to get this. All right.
Any other comments comments about that section, or should we move on to the?
Yeah, so we were also asked to look at a couple of the housing goals. So the first one was goal H5. The goal itself was fine. This is one I was focused on, funding the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So we were asked to add some implementation actions. We've added these, the two proposed here, that largely reflect how we generally try to find funding outside of when there'd be a partnership between local and other funding sources. And then also kind of recognizing with the second bullet point that there are some ongoing conversations above at least my pay grade about this, and that we would probably incorporate that as part of the housing action plan when we develop that later this year. And then with housing goal H6, this is one where we talked a little bit about context and then kind of had a really productive discussion about how we could encapsulate that. So we have made the proposal to change the goal to read, support construction of diverse housing opportunities across all income levels and housing types, consistent with adopted neighborhood and housing plans. So we really changed, I think it was housing, we changed it to housing opportunities, and we added that, the context statement of really trying to tie it into the neighborhood, and then we also added housing plans, which is really just trying to future-proof this a little bit, knowing that we have a housing action plan forthcoming. So, but really trying to give that neighborhood context at a policy level, and not get, I think it seemed like we were trying to avoid getting too hard into architectural review, but having a lot of the good discussion and recommendations and context that's in our neighborhood plans, really daylighting that explicitly as part of this goal.
And then, sort of, you wanna go on to
You want me to
talk
keep going?
about what the?
Sure.
the-
So yeah, and then we revised that first implementation action. So again, this is us being planners. We're trying to use the existing language that exists within our code, so we could really tie the policy and the code together. This previously read as kind of monitor the number of housing units constructed for each form type, but we expanded that out to say each municipal code form type, the form zone, and then neighborhood plan area, and then propose regulatory changes as necessary. So some of that was based on the conversation we had too, where the form code doesn't necessarily cover every part of the city. So that's why we really tried to capture that with that neighborhood plan area. And the caveat to that is our neighborhood plans don't cover every single square inch of the community as well, but they do cover a lot. So, but things like fossil trace are uncovered, are not covered, things like that. So mine was not covered by a neighborhood plan.
Mhm.
So I can stop at the housing stuff, and I have the economic vitality here, but I can.
Okay, why don't we stop with the housing and see what thoughts, ideas, reactions, suggestions? We did talk about trying to find a way to consider context, and when we met 2 weeks ago, and this seems to me to be an effective way to get to that. I mean, there may be suggestions for I don't have them, particular suggestions for other wording, but I think this is really a good step in terms of trying to acknowledge that and give us under that first implementation action, real, identify some direction for how we use the form-based housing to really kind of track or keep track of what's happening and so on. But I don't know what other thoughts you all may have.
I think that sounds better.
move on to economic vitality.
Okay. So economic vitality, similarly, we were asked to add some implementation actions, particularly to the first goal, which didn't have any. We did add one, and these are kind of largely recognizing the work that our economic development team does right now, but developing these targeted business grant opportunities and outreach to support the local business needs. A good example of that is DDA often will develop kind of almost responsive grants when things come up. So I know there's conversations going right now about potential local grant program in response to the XL outages over the holiday. But there's been other opportunities as well where they can really they can go in and find a specific need, whether it's geographic or other framing, and put some dollars and staff resources there. And then also coordinating these business roundtable discussions and other engagement events. So that's largely, that's something that we do in partnership. And obviously we try to make this very generic, but nonprofit and private sector organizations. So they do a lot of work with the Chamber of Commerce, with the Welcome Center, with DDA, with the Civic Foundation, but really, and then also with Minds and local business groups, but really trying to spur that collaboration and opportunity. That's, I think, the hard work that the economic development team does, where they build those relationships, and that pays off years down the line when there may be an opportunity to bring in a new business. We also use that term business centers, which sounds really wonky, but it's basically recognizing that we do have areas throughout town where there's industrial hubs, there's light and kind of more warehousing, manufacturing hubs, where there is benefit for them to be close to each other, and we really try to support those, like out at the Clay Works or Course Tech Industrial Park, or off of US 6 and Colfax, places like that. We really try to support when we get concentration of unique businesses.
Thoughts or comments? I think having those two implementation actions really helps define what the goal is and some particular action. And as you say, some of the, I think we're seeing some of it currently going forth as they do the follow-up to the outages in December and so on and so forth, that there's a real active interest in that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting because we have our new economic development manager starting, I think, next week, shortly. I gave him a parking permit.
This week, he's
Yeah.
making the rounds.
Oh, I haven't seen him yet, so. And then we also have, and this will tie into the next section, this is my very egregious slide, the visitor-based economy. So we have a community marketing specialist as well, Derek, that's on board. We handed this out in advance of the meeting. This is obviously a lot. If there's additional edits to be made, we can send this out electronically. You can make direct edits, but this would be, so page 63, we kind of wanted to bring that visitor-based economy discussion. It was buried in a to be done box on the goals page of this chapter, but we're gonna bring it up to the kind of front part of this, of the chapter to really recognize it. And I think, so kind of this will be another one where we have a new community marketing board. They're going to be doing a community marketing strategic plan basically this year. And they are kind of some of the tenets that you'll see that we tried to capture in this is, one, I think the perception of visitation is that it's seasonal, and we're just not finding that to be the case anymore. It is year round. And I think for those of you that live especially close to downtown, it is year round. And so we talk a lot about how it's outdoor recreation driven. A lot of that has just been historically because we're really close to the mountains. But I think community marketing is going to be much more deliberate on how they push that aspect of visitation. And that obviously expands beyond tubing, which we really do not promote in any way. It's more to the other aspects of our outdoor lifestyle. And then we also talk a lot about how the associated tax revenue really does help fund citywide benefits. And so I know the biggest one for me is the Orcart shuttle system that I operate is largely funded out of tax revenue gleaned from visitation. We didn't get too deep into it here, and I think their strategic plan will, because we have thriving communities, which gets visitation money. We do have a community marketing fund that also gets dollars, but then we have DDA, the Downtown Development Authority. They have funding as well. So we do find that a lot of that tax revenue that comes in, the city is pretty deliberate about trying to spread that and provide community-wide benefit, which again goes back to our general strategy of economic vitality of how can we use our position and our unique community to create unique benefits where we're not just taking anybody and everybody who comes, but how can we create these kind of good partnerships and create an environment that businesses want to be here and then people want to be here as well. So that was what we tried to summarize in 2 paragraphs. It took a lot of back and forth, but I think if there are any additional edits, that would be really helpful, but I think we'll definitely be bringing this up earlier into that chapter to really recognize its importance to the community.
We have that in the papers that were at our places.
Yes.
But I would ask, given that some members not here, if we could send that out electronically.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it would be helpful if we did the PowerPoint presentation as a way for us to remind ourselves, but also for folks that aren't with us tonight to be able to get good information about what's happened since the study session and how you all have responded to things we raised in the study session.
For sure, and we'll definitely send it directly to the commissioners. Michelle got it posted on Granicus today as well, so anybody that's following along at home will see that as part of the packet, so they would be able to pull this up if they're listening along right now. So, yeah, we definitely want to get feedback on this. There's another area where we tried not to lean too hard into the more, like we know there are aspects of this that are highly controversial within the community. I think we're largely trying to recognize this is kind of what's going on. This is why people are coming. These are the benefits of this visitation. We view it, there's other avenues, the annual events meetings and Clear Creek meetings that the city hosts and solicits feedback and makes operational changes. And then this upcoming strategic plan, I think, will really delve into, like, are there enough events? Do we need more? Do we need more visitation? What does that visitation look like? I think those are things that the city's really going to be looking at. So,
Questions or comments?
Just a timing question, because I noticed it said that staff will be developing a new community marketing strategic plan with the CMB Community Marketing Board starting later this year that will provide additional direction. So that direction is probably going to be post-publication and approval of the comprehensive plan, right?
yeah, and this plan's more, the comp plan's more focused on land use and development. I think any policy guidance or programmatic or funding guidance for visitation would come out of the community marketing group. I think here we're just trying to recognize that it's an important part of economic development, but not providing a ton of policy direction in this plan as it relates to kind of that community marketing approach. And I think some of it is, as you said, a timing issue, where the community marketing board, we've tried to go to talk to them, but they're still in the phase of just setting themselves up as a board, and they're like, we're really trying to figure that out. Derek's only been with the city for a couple of months. I think they're unearthing contracts and other fun stuff like that, really just trying to get a handle of what's going on at this point. But I think that process will be more of the guidance than the comp plan.
Okay.
Historic oh, sorry,
No.
apologize.
Go ahead.
So historic preservation, we were asked to add a number of implementation actions below the goals. So we did that. I think the one exception that we had, I think H2 had a implementation action already underneath it. And H4, this is another balance, kind of similar to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund question. We kind of felt that that one was is both a goal and an implementation action. So we did not propose any further implementation action for that one. But for goal H1, we added some language about integrating historic preservation and rehabilitation, also calling out specifically archaeological resources and then historic context into both city's capital projects and private development proposals. And then just making sure that we're doing a regular review and refinement, which Lauren Simmons is in the process of doing with the Pass Forward initiative, but just kind of doing a regular review of our processes and regulations to make sure that they're consistent with the value themes, our equity, and best management practices across historic preservation. For goal H3, we added one implementation action item to focus on aligning the historic preservation program's processes and public engagement criteria with the larger zoning code to really try to create consistency and improve in public community engagement, which sometimes we struggle with on historic preservation, especially when it's not a development-based historic preservation case. And then also updating the architectural review criteria to recognize a broad range of architectural and historic styles representative of our built environment. And that one is currently in progress. So that will be something that the Historic Preservation Review Board would be adopting, those updated criteria. Goal HP5, we added one implementation action item, just talking about providing resources and establish education and training metrics for historic preservation staff and board members. I think we ripped that one directly from Commissioner Yoshida's recommendations. And then goal HP6, I believe this is another one that we shamelessly stole from Mr. Yoshida. Identify, align, and integrate specific resources and incentives to support equity-based historic preservation and rehabilitation. So talking with Lauren and internally, I think we feel this gives us a lot of good policy direction, and then implementing a lot of that, which he's currently doing with Pass Forward, really providing that bridge from the comp plan into like how this stuff is actually implemented as part of a development review or a historic preservation review case.
Thoughts, comments?
Sounds like what we're looking for.
Cool.
Just as a sort of a side note, that part of that conversation 2 weeks ago was once we get through the work of the comp plan, of having some conversation about some ways in which the Planning Commission and Historic Preservation Board can do some work together or make sure that there's ongoing communication of what's happening from the planning side as well as what's happening with Historic Preservation Board.
Yeah. So I think those are those are all the changes that we discussed previously. I'm happy to just wrap up the presentation quickly, and then if there's any additional comments or just new business, new edits, I'm happy to, we can kind of talk through those.
Go ahead.
Cool. So obviously tonight, we're doing our public hearing as required by state statute. Planning Commission would adopt this plan via resolution, so we'll draft that up next time, have legal review it. We've really directed all public feedback, so we've done messaging out in Golden Informer, with social media, with Mondays with the Mayor. We've really tried to funnel all the feedback now into these public hearings, or if people cannot make it, that they can email or call me directly. We're not doing surveys or kind of additional things that are gonna be out for X number of days. Really trying to focus it in on, since we'll have a number of weeks that this hearing is legally open. So we're trying to get all the feedback that we can right now directly to Planning Commission. Council's approval is tentatively scheduled for April 14th. Obviously, that can change, just depends on the Planning Commission schedule. And then we'll have this plan available digitally on the city's website. There's probably things that you may or may not have noticed, but like the little home logo, like there's actually little navigational things that make your life easier within the document electronically. And so our designer's finishing that up as well. So we'll have it available, it'll be ready to go at that point then. And then we prepared, with this hearing continuing to the March 4th meeting, we just proposed a draft hearing continuation motion, should you just want to have some language that you can bounce off of. But obviously you can make whatever motion you would so choose. We have no, I should say, so at this point, staff has no formal recommendation for Planning Commission regarding the adoption of the comprehensive plan. Obviously, we wanted to solicit additional public feedback, hear any additional edits. We will bring a final plan document to you at the March 4th hearing. We'll have that prepared as part of your packet. That'll go out next Wednesday.
Comments or questions for Matt?
I appreciate the public comments being included in the packet. Is this all we've gotten? Wow.
I mean, I could give you the verbatim Guiding Golden stuff, and we've been keeping, I mean, I basically copied and pasted that off of Guiding Golden. We've been keeping a log throughout the whole process. I think I'm pretty confident in the general approach to community engagement that we've done with this, because I think it's something the city's spent a lot of time, and our communications group has spent a lot of time over the last couple of years of, we try to engage folks multiple times and via multiple avenues. And so we have print publications like the Informer and Highlights. We have social media for those that use it, and that's Facebook and Twitter. We used to do Nextdoor a little bit more, but they're kind of antagonistic towards municipal government for some reason. But then also, I believe we sent a postcard out to the entire community when we started this process. And then I think Mondays with the Mayor, following up with folks who have signed up for updates with Guiding Golden, really trying to get as much feedback going out to different parts of the community for all those meetings. So all those phase 1 and 2 meetings, we were being pretty strategic about holding those meetings throughout the city, knowing when we're, say, at Golden Terrace, you know, in South Golden, we have folks that we've worked with for the past, so reaching out to them, really trying to create as much awareness as we can. And I think I had a similar experience when we were doing the bike and pedestrian plan, where when we were talking about what do you want to see and where, and then what projects, but in the middle, we were like, who wants to talk about policy? And like our engagement really was a challenge. But we've been using this citywide kind of communications strategy in our engagement processes. I've been using them on multiple projects over the same time frame as the comp plan, and we've been getting really good engagement. And so I agree it's frustrating. I want more people to be engaged in the comp plan. And I think we've seen, there's been a lot of engagement in the transportation master plan, the parks and recreation and open space plan has been getting a lot of engagement as well. So I'm confident in the process, and I think sometimes we've done a lot and we've tried to get as much engagement. We try to be creative with like, let's build those activities, because like nobody just wants to come and be like, what do you think about these goals or like these land use policies? And so really trying to make it more interactive. And that's kind of worked, and I think we take some lessons from that. But I think we've gotten a lot of good feedback. We've really tried to incorporate what we've heard. I think is particularly for the conversations we've had with Planning Commission. We've really built this plan to think of where it was at the beginning of last year to today, and it's a very different plan. And so I think that's really representative of the thoughtful review that this board has brought to it as well.
Absolutely, and I would simply just add, I think it's, one part the best efforts. I think it's also the testament to all the things that we heard through phase one, and then, the responses to the iterations of the draft. And, if somehow when we got to the policy phase, as we draft those goals and carry this forward, if it doesn't meet the mark or, far misses that expectation, we heard it from Planning Commission on one of those drafts and we were able to respond. But it's also from the broader community. If we, were to miss that mark in that policy phase, the community will let us know. And, the fact that despite all of those best efforts that, this is the extent of the comments, I think that's a data point as well, so.
Okay. Thank you. Not just for tonight, but for that whole effort. Being reminded that this is a year and a quarter, or coming up on a year and a half effort. It's kind of amazing that we've been working with it, but there's tangible. It's made a tangible difference, as clearly looking at the feedback and the conversations that we've had in the study sessions with the Planning Commission, and your response to those comments and conversation are much appreciated. So, Lucas, is this a recommended approach for us to do a actual motion for continuation?
Yeah, I think so. This is to keep on with the hearing until March 4th and continue the rest of it until then. Yes, this would be the way to do it.
Okay. I guess to be official, we need to open the public hearing part and close it.
Here tonight, I mean, you can
Yes.
open it, give the floor to the public here for a moment,
Yes.
and then move on.
Seeing none, as the phrase is, we'll close public comment. And there's an opportunity now for the commission to raise any other questions, comments, that sort of thing that we have, that would like Matt to be able to take into account between now and the time that we meet in 2 weeks, or actually between now and the time.
I've got like 3 days.
Get a
so-
package. Yeah.
I was told our designer
So we have
is
this-
moving on to a new project next
This
week,
list
and I was
of
like,
12 things,
all right.
it'll be okay.
But yeah, obviously anything, I joke, but anything that you'd like changed, we can make a change. So.
Any suggestions, comments? Going once, going twice? Thank you. In the packet, or actually up on the board, is a draft for a motion to continue the public hearing till the 4th of March. Is there someone would like to make that motion?
I move to continue the public hearing for adoption of the 2026 City of Golden Comprehensive Plan to the Planning Commission meeting on March 4th, 2026, to allow staff to consider updating its recommendation to the plan based on public feedback and to allow additional commissioners to present for the public hearing.
I second that motion.
Discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Colbert,
Yes.
Hilliard,
Yes.
Haran,
Yes?
Fraser,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. As part of the, not necessarily deliberation, but, I wanted to ask the commission, this would, next, when we meet on the fourth, presumably, we will be able to, make a decision about approval of the comprehensive plan and forwarding to, whether or not we forward it to city council. If we do that, I, from other groups that I've worked with in the city, have the committee or commission board, has sent a public, comment to go, to accompany it, to be read as part of the public statement at the hearing when city council holds that. And I don't know that that's necessarily been the pattern for the planning commission in the past, but I wanted to raise that question and give us a chance to think about that as to whether or not we would want to do that, so that when the public hearing is held with the city council, that we might have a statement in addition to a vote that forwards the plan with approval. Is there any problem with us doing that, Lucas?
This would be a resolution, correct, Carl? That's, we're
Correct.
preparing a resolution. Suppose if you have, if it's, so the basic idea is, you know, we adopt this, we send it to city council. I think you can include any other relevant considerations in there. What do you think, Carl?
Well, I think what Commissioner Fraser, Chair Fraser is mentioning is when it goes to the public hearing with city council, that there's a planning commissioner there to also speak at public comment in that portion, you know, in addition to just forwarding the resolution. So I think that's the question, is whether that's appropriate and, you know, something
And
that
then-
the planning commission would allow.
Thank you.
Is that right?
That is, yes, thank you. You took my rambling and made it.
So you, the board would assign one of your members to take that task and go, and be present at the city council meeting, to be sort of the person,
Right.
the point person to relay any information or answer questions and things like that.
And would we, if we wanted to have, develop a statement that then that member would put into the record, is it feasible for that to be, you know, looked at or considered by the commission, and then the person authorized or requested to go and make that statement?
Well, to some extent, it depends on what the city council wants to hear from you all, you know, so they're gonna be considering that.
Right.
They may or may not say, yes, we would like to hear from Commissioner so-and-so. So I mean, to some extent, it's gonna be up to the council, how they wanna handle it. I mean, you can send someone and be ready.
And I
It's
think
just
from
too
a
written.
Yeah, from a written statement, I think, you know, it would be, depending on the brevity of it, might be part of that resolution as well. If you wanted something as a whereas clause, could also be handled there.
Yeah, because you will have a written product, and that is the resolution. So if you wanted something that you wanted to be sure was in the record and would be read, maybe not out loud, but
Sure.
by the council, resolution would probably be a pretty
Part of the
good
package.
place to put it, yeah.
And I think if you wanted to give us feedback on, or direction on the whereas clauses, we would need that pretty quick, because I need to get you a draft resolution fairly quick.
Yes, but they can they can amend the resolution
That's
when
true,
it's
yeah.
adopted. I mean,
If you wanted them included.
if
With
you
the
have any
draft.
thoughts now, that'd be great,
Be helpful.
but otherwise we can, if you have thoughts, we can, hopefully relatively simple, so that we can type them up at the time, at the hearing, next time, but.
And I think that the experience that I've seen when like CVAC members would speak at, from that committee would speak at the public hearing part, as part of that plan. So I think having a planning commissioner there, if planning commission wanted to, delegate the authority to speak on behalf of the commission, that's, I think, something that seems reasonable,
Right,
if
yeah.
they wanted to put in their 3 minutes at the public hearing.
Mhm.
Would I, if if the commission thinks that's a helpful idea, I could draft a short something that we could look at in 2 weeks. Then either could be incorporated as part of the resolution, or, however we, okay.
Yeah.
Is that something that you could type up, send to Carl, and then Carl could distribute it to us before the meeting?
Yes, I think it would have to be.
Staff will happily disseminate the.
Yeah, I'll put it as an
the-
attachment.
Yep.
If you can get it to me by Wednesday morning.
Or prior, if we get it,
Well,
we can work through our channels.
Yeah.
I drive Carl nuts doing everything in the last minute.
Okay. Just looking at my cheat sheet. I guess, I believe we have concluded deliberation for tonight and continued the hearing for, till the 4th, and we'll see what comment and so on that we have at that point. Also an opportunity for any last feedback from staff, before we deliberate on, approval. Think, is there anything else that we need to address this evening?
I don't think so.
From a scheduling, we'll have the hearing on March 4th, and then we do plan to have some regular business and a study session on March 18th at that meeting as well.
I'll not be here on the 18th,
I appreciate that.
spring break.
Okay. I would be happy then to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thanks, all of you. Matt particularly, thank you.
Team effort. Thank you.